G'day folks, this is Sim. Welcome back to Minecraft Done from Down Under. What have we done since the last episode? Well, I've taken the opportunity to do a little bit of tidying up, get all of our bits and pieces in order, and do some basic preparations for the next episode. I haven't done anything really major, so don't feel that I've left you out. I've thrown up a bank of furnace walls here because furnaces are your friend, and if you play the game anywhere near like I play, you're going to gather a lot of cobble, and that cobble can be turned quite easily into experience. And it's not a lot, but when you've got enough of it, it all adds up. What have I really been doing? Well, we've got the spawner here, and it seems too good an opportunity to let go to waste, so I'm actually going to deal with this straight away as one of the priorities before we get started on any sort of serious building. And what I'm going to try to do is run through the basics of spawner mechanics with you guys as well, so that everybody knows how to set up a fairly straightforward water-based grinder. Now, there are lots and lots of ways to do grinders in Minecraft, from the most basic up to some amazingly complex designs. When I play, I'm looking for something that will do the job as well as it possibly can, and I want efficiency, but I am not going to go over the top. So where efficiency is going to involve massive amounts of mucking around just to get an extra 0.5% faster spawn rate, I'm not going to bother. But when it comes down to little easy things that you can do to get the most out of your spawners, well, we'll see how we go there. Now, the first thing we need to understand with a spawner is how do the mechanics of spawners work in Minecraft. Now, a spawner spawns when you're within 16 blocks. So if we run down here, you'll see that if I'm standing here, we can see that that spawner is still spinning, and I am 16 blocks away from that spawner with the count starting in the block where the spawner is. So not 16 blocks from it, but 16 blocks starting with 1 at the spawner. If I move back 1, you'll see that the skeleton has stopped spinning and now I'm no longer in range. Move forward again and I'm in. So you find your spawner, you go directly below it, and you start counting 1, 2, 3 out to 16, and the 16th block is the maximum range. Now, a spawner itself spawns mobs in a radius centered on a corner, not the center of the spawner like some people might think. It's actually centered on the corner with the lowest X and Z coordinates. So if I move forward, and you'll see that I've got the Ep3 screen on at the moment, as I go this way, the X gets smaller. Hang on, rewind that. We're going in a negative direction, so X is actually getting smaller this way because X is getting minus, which is actually a smaller number than going in the positive direction. So this direction here, the Z is getting larger in the negative, and this direction here is getting larger in the negative. So the smallest number is actually this way. It's a little bit confusing because we're on the negative side, but that's what we're looking for. Now, the spawner itself will spawn mobs with their feet in the same block level as the spawner, 1 block level below or 1 block level above. So you need 2 blocks of clearance above the spawner and 2 blocks of clearance below the spawner, and you need, as I said, an 8 by 8 radius around this point here. So that's 4 blocks in this direction from that point, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 4 blocks in this direction from that point, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now there's a reason why I've made this a little bit larger. Now I can do this and still get the water to flow the way I want it, because mobs spawn within that 8x8 radius, but mobs have a size, and a lot of people don't realize that. Let's say the mob was going to spawn right there. Now if there was a wall here, or say it was spawning right there, if half of the mob is going to actually be in the wall, then it will fail to spawn. So although you've got an 8x8 radius, you actually need a little bit of space on the sides, on the edges, to allow the mobs to actually spawn, have a better chance of spawning. And that's something you can do to increase your efficiency without too much effort, because it's just a case of mining it out a little bit wider. Now the problem is though, is the water only flows for 8 blocks, and it would take a lot more effort for me to actually come down this way further and take full advantage of it, because then I'd have to worry about making the water break a little bit further or run a little bit further than I want it to. So in that case, for simplicity's sake, I'm just going to go these two here, and it'll help just a little bit. Now the other thing that you want to look at when you're building a grinder is where mobs get hooked up. I see a lot of grinders built where people throw water into the corners, and I've done it that way myself at the beginning, but most of the designs then end up with the mobs coming to a hole somewhere in the center here, and when you've got a mob coming this way and a mob coming this way, they bump into each other and they fight, and it slows them down from actually dropping and moving further forward. Whereas if the mobs are running in a solid single direction and they fall down 2 blocks and then are pushed this way, they're much more likely to move smoothly. And the other thing that we have to consider when we look at spawners is the actual spawner check itself. A spawner won't spawn if there are 6 mobs or more within a 17 by 17 by 9 radius, I think it is. So that's basically 8 blocks that way, 8 blocks that way, that way, that way, and 4 blocks above and below. So if there are too many mobs around the spawner, it will stop spawning, and that's obviously to stop a mob grinder spawning infinite mobs. Now the thing is, we want to take advantage of that to create a situation where we can spawn large numbers of mobs, but we also need to be aware of what we're doing so we don't find ourselves in a position where we can't actually play the game because we've got so many mobs spawned that the game itself is crashing. So we want to move the mobs as quickly as we possibly can out of the range of the spawner. So we're going to go with a simple water design that runs them this way, drops them down again 2 blocks, and then pushes them that way, which will then hopefully ensure that when they're spawned, they're moved out of the area as quickly as possible. Now to start off, I'm just going to make the most basic of mob grinders, so it's going to push them to a point, and then we're going to beat on them with a sword. The next upgrade that we'll make to this particular grinder will either be to lift the mobs and drop them so that they take fall damage, or we'll hook up a crusher of some sorts to actually do damage to them that way, or maybe we'll do it with lava. I don't know, it depends upon what I feel like at the time, and we'll see what happens when we get there. But right now we just want to be able to get some bones, some bows, and a bunch of arrows so that we've got some good materials to work with. So let's have a look at how far we've gone. We've got a drop here, a run across, and a drop down here, and then a run across, and then finally another drop down here, and this is going to be the killing zone. So we'll take this one out, throw that back up in there. We can come back up through to here quite easily. So what we need to do is we need to get some water ready, and to do that we probably should do this with 2 buckets because we want to do it fairly quickly. I should have enough iron to be able to make another one. Throw that down in there. I've thrown in an infinite water spring. Oops, might help if I pick the right bucket. Okay, and we'll go from there. Now we're probably going to have to deal with some spawns once we do this, but that's just the way of the world. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to start, whoa, too far, that was a mistake. Okay, first stream is going to run to there, stops right there and pushes them so that they will all drop into here and they shouldn't hook up. And grab some more. This stream here is going to drive them across, and again it runs 8 blocks and drops them off straight there. Now, whoops, we'll do this the quick way and we'll make an infinite spring to work our way across instead of coming back and forth, and that's pretty easy to do. We place one there, we'll place another one there, which means we can now take the middle one out from there, pop it in there, grab one from there, pop it in there, one more time, and bang. And now we have a perfect run all the way down to there. So now that we've got that, let's start taking out these swords, taking out these torches, and we're probably going to have some company fairly soon, so we'll have to see how we go. And there we are. Go away, don't want to play with you. Okay, take out this one. Let's see if we can make the jump. Yes. Okay, now another thing that we need to be aware of is once we close this off, you don't want any light getting into the spawning area itself, and that includes light coming through from wherever it is that you're actually gathering the mobs and killing them. Now we're far enough away here that it's not going to make too big a difference, but you do want to be aware that if you are close to the spawner, then light is going to head up and into the corner of the spawner, and believe it or not, the amount of light does matter. Even a small increase in light will slow down the spawn rates, so you want it as close to 0 light level in all spawning places as possible when you're actually building this, so keep that in mind. Alright, so now we need to be at least here for the mobs to spawn, and I am going to clear a little bit of space out here, and I will probably actually build something into this area so that I will have something useful to do while I'm hanging out here. Now this is only a very early, very temporary spawner. It's really an AFK spawner. It's not something that is particularly exciting to watch, but they're certainly fun to build. And as long as we stay within range of that torch, it will continue to spawn the mobs down that end down there. The other thing is that if I'm down here, I should also be within range. Now I do have to be careful. If you stand too close, they will shoot you. And it looks like at least one of them is trying madly to shoot one of its mates at the moment. Okay. Now, they're a little bit annoying. Let me just back up so it's not quite so loud. I had to deal with a few of these guys while I was digging that out, so I've already picked up a few arrows. Okay. And a few bows. So that means that we're not going to be reliant now on feathers and gravel for making arrows. What we shall do, though, is take the opportunity to deal with a couple of other things that we really want to be able to do now that we've got access to experience. So what's the state of the weather outside? Is it daytime or nighttime? It's nighttime. Okay. Get that cooking. Alright, so we may as well sit here for a moment while we discuss what we're going to do next. Obviously, the priorities are now food and materials. Now, food in Minecraft, the best form of food by all means is steak, either from pigs or cows, but it's going to be a little bit of a while before we can get a cow or pig farm going. So the next best option is crops of some sort, and there we're looking at either bread or potatoes. Potatoes you're not always going to get early in the game. It depends upon whether you find a village or you get a drop from a zombie, but potatoes are by far the best option if you can get them. Otherwise, wheat's the next best thing. Now we've got a big advantage with the skeleton grinder here in that we can in fact, hang on a second, my color corrections just kicked in. That's better. So yes, we've got skeleton grinder, which means we've got access to bones, which is going to make farming a lot easier, particularly in the early stages. So that's what we're going to do, and we've also got potatoes because we had the village, so we're going to set up a very, very basic potato farm. And then later we're going to work on something a little bit more elaborate. Alright, let's go and kill anything that's turned up down here off. Looking good. And then we'll go and see whether the sun's actually come up yet or not. Now, the social zombies in 1.7.2 aren't anywhere near as bad as they were in 1.6, but they still can be a problem, and until I've got much better armor and weaponry, I'm not really going to be doing a lot of running around outside at night. Not so much because it's a bother fighting them or it's difficult, it's more that they just don't quit, so you're at it constantly, and that gets a little bit lame after a while, and it looks like we've timed that nicely. So let's just do a quick tidy up. Throw some of these excess blocks away. And you can see we've already got more than enough arrows, so we're going to be absolutely rocking as far as that's concerned. Just quickly sort this out. Throw that up there. Whoops, as well as those and those. And we're going to want the bones. We're going to want the potatoes. We're going to need to make a new hoe, so let's do that quickly. We're going to have to get some wood fairly soon as well, but that won't take long. Boom, boom. And why not? Time to farm. Alrighty, so we'll throw that up there. Now, better watch out. There's a pretty good chance we could have some loose creepers roaming around. Okay, grab some more water. Now, for the time being anyway, it's going to be just a very basic farm setup. Hey you, Whoop. Don't want you coming and bothering me later, so let's just deal with him. Grab the gunpowder. Really? What are you doing down there? There you go. Okay, so let's just find a nice open spot. This should do here just fine. Again, right now, where have you gone? How on earth did you get out of there? And more importantly, where are you? I said that horse was going to be trouble. It's got a saddle and iron armour on. Okay. Anyway, as I was saying, right now this is going to be fairly ghetto. We just need to give ourselves access to a food supply that means that we're not going to be mucking around starving half the time until we can get a more efficient and long-term farm running. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and one more. There we go. Alright. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Lovely. And bone meal. Now the good thing about potatoes is, as well as being a decent sort of food with decent saturation, they have to be baked. And if you bake them, they're worth experience. There are so many ways of getting experience in this game. The thing is that if you really want to do any seriously large builds, you need every bit of experience you get, because you're going to want good quality materials, diamond gear, diamond tools. You're going to be spending a lot of time exposed, which means you're going to be dealing with a lot of mobs. And the fact of the matter is that if you're working on large build projects, the thing that will kill the desire for the game quicker than anything else is grinding. So experienced grinders, in my opinion anyway, make it possible to take the game to the next level. It's fine just to run around and kill things like a caveman, and some people enjoy that a great deal, and more power to them. But I play Minecraft, I start off in a hostile world, and I look at the game from the point of view that I'm wanting to take this world and make this world my own. I don't feel that things like automated mob farms are cheating, although some people do. I feel they're just part of the game, and for me and a lot of other people I know, they're what makes the game fun. So Now we've almost got a full crop here. Hopefully there is nothing around that will allow the horses to jump and damage the cropland. I can probably throw a fence around this, and I will do that fairly soon. And there we go, and we've even got a few spuds left over to feed us. And considering that we're running out of the last of our, well, actually look at the bone meal we've got left. Let's not muck around, let's just do this. Now, for those of you who are raging now about the messy state of this farm, believe it or not, I do fully intend to actually build some proper, pretty farms fairly soon. But I'm firmly of the belief that the first thing you want to worry about is keeping food in your belly. So, pretty is nice, but pretty doesn't pay the bills unless you're in a profession that, well, we won't go there. So, yes. So, for the time being, what we want to do is just get ourselves a food supply so that we don't have to worry about food, and we can go from there. So there we go. We've got some spuds. We may as well go and throw them in. And while we're here, our next priority is going to be enchanting. So now is a very good time to get down some sugar cane. Probably going to have to go for a roam around and find some more. We'll do that soon. Okay. I'll take that experience and that experience and throw those in there to cook. What else? Anything else in here? Oh, one more. Alright, so getting a decent supply of building blocks up early in the game. Poisonous potatoes. You really do have to wonder, why would you put them in the game? Surely there should be a potion recipe that takes advantage of them. That block annoys me. Okay, let's go and have a very quick look and see if we can find that runaway horse. I am going to be rather annoyed if it's managed to suffocate or if it's glitched out somewhere. And I have no idea how. Oh, we have cows close by. That's going to make life easy. No sign of a horse anywhere. Ah, look, it's raining. But we live in a savannah. Aren't we lucky? Well, I seriously think that one of the first things that we will do once we start on the homestead will be to build up a nice large horse paddock, and we'll go and rope these guys and we'll drag them all back. Now the homestead itself is going to be over in this area over here, underneath the mountain over there. I do intend to level a large amount of the terrain to build it. I'll leave things natural further out, but I want a fairly large flat area for the homestead itself. Now, that horse doesn't seem to be anywhere to be seen. What was that? Particles? I'm seeing things now. Okay, that's what happens when you get old, by the way. If that horse is glitched into a wall, I will be annoyed. And it's one of the reasons why I didn't put diamond horse armor on it, even though I've got some. Alright. It was a pure white too. I like pure white horses. Oh well. You win some, you lose some. Let's get this down. One more. Hello. Alright. And for anybody who is wondering, it makes absolutely no difference whether you grow sugarcane on sand or on grass. It's the same speed either way. It's been tested many times and proven. I would recommend that you look up some of Zoomavoid's videos if you want to be absolutely sure. But yes, if anybody tells you that sugarcane grows faster on sand than it does on grass, they're full of it. But I think that will do for this episode. Again, I hope everybody enjoyed this. I hope you liked it as much as I liked making it. I look forward to seeing you soon for the next one. And until then, take care. Ciao for now. Bye.